Okay, today's video is going to be about starting strength, and the way this is displayed, it's displayed in a bunch of lifts. It's really easy to understand when we talk about the deadlift. And so it can be what we might call go sets or stop sets. And starting strength is the force, the tension, all that feeling in your body before you lift something heavy, done repeatedly. Or, you know, for some people it's just like once in a set of 3 or 5. Or you can intentionally release that tension and start new each individual rep. So very traditionally, if you're using like a pretty lightweight for you, you'll see people kind of get tight. This first rep feels a little bit hard, but you just stay in your kind of tight position. You might tap the ground real quick. We would call these go sets, where you don't have to really start or reposition your deadlift for each rep. Something that you might want to consider if you've been deadlifting for a while or doing any sort of real set is starting each rep. So instead of going one after another, get nice and tight, lift the weight up, put it down, get yourself reset. And this is actually going to feel harder because every single rep that you're doing, you're having to work on that starting strength. And so if you're someone who's like maybe coming off a deadlift cycle or you haven't really worked on this, that ability to create that force and that tension on your first rep is going to help with any sort of PRs you're looking for, or just that starting strength that we see in climbers or any of these lifts. So thinking about that with your deadlift, you can like re-rack a front squat, you could re-rack a bench press. So having to force yourself to go through that starting strength, that first rep each time is actually pretty valuable. And you'll see how hard or taxing it can be because you're not all preloaded and, you know, ready to bounce the weight off the floor and keep going. So something to consider when you're programming. I wouldn't say like do this for a ton of volume. You know, starting strength might be like 3 sets of 3 or even 5 sets of 2 if you wanted. We'll also see it when folks are in some sort of training cycle where they're doing really heavy loads for say a week or 2 or something like that, maybe 90% of their max. It's hard to make those reps kind of continue because they got to kind of reset for each set or each rep or singles or whatever they're doing. So starting strength is a real thing and something that should definitely be considered or trained, and you can do that by restarting your rep instead of just in your sets.